beside me is the great
Optimus Prime, a.k.a. Vanilla Gorilla.
And this is Getting Pleasant with Hemp and Hopz.
That's right.
Today.
Inaugural.
The first episode ever. Welcome. I know y'all clapping out there. Today, we have with us Justin Shepard and Ryan Kavanagh. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
From Rome, Georgia. Grew up in the Armurchie area. Worked around here locally. Left, joined the Navy, came back. Liked beer after being over in Europe, and I'm starting a brewery.
Wow. Nice.
That's the briefest way to put it.
I
keep it way more complicated, but I'll cut it off there.
Right. What about you?
I grew up all over the U.S., everywhere from Minnesota to Florida, from Rhode Island to California. Landed in Michigan. That's where I live now. And one day I said to my friend, man, I bet I could make beer because the beer we were drinking just wasn't any good. Yeah. And he was like, well, I know how to make beer. I'll show you. And went over to his house, learned how to make beer. And I was like, really, that was it? This is making beer? He said, yeah, that's it. Now we just wait. I said, oh, I can do that.
So I can definitely do that.
Yeah. Yep. So that's how that started for me.
That's what's up.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here. Thanks for doing this with us. And being on the first episode, because
it is a pleasure.
Obviously, talking in front of a camera is not awesome. I'm just playing. It's awesome. So. I'm trying not to be arrogant.
It's a blend. It can be nerve-wracking or it can be awesome.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Depending on who you are, your temperament. But we definitely appreciate y'all being on the first episode. You know what I'm saying? And here rocking with us. So y'all both, as you said, have breweries. What's the name of yours?
River Remedy Brewing Company.
And where is that located?
In Rome, Georgia.
Good old Rome, Georgia.
Where's it located? Right here.
Right here where we at. In this building. In this fine facility.
I found it.
Yes. I'm lost in the questions. And you, what's your name of your brewery and where is it located?
Name of my brewery is Heights Brewing, and that is in Farmington, Michigan.
Okay.
So it's not where we're sitting.
Yeah. Well, where is Farmington close to?
Farmington is just outside of Detroit. It probably takes about 20 minutes to get to Detroit from where I'm at.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Go Big Blue!
Yeah. You got any questions you want to add?
Yeah, you just let's say, I know you just said that you fell in love with beer when you was in Europe. So I was going to ask both of you, what was the first craft beer that you had that pretty much made you want to do what you're doing?
So, like I said a minute ago, went to Europe, had some beers over there, and fell in love with it. But prior to that, I really didn't like beer. I tried all the domestics, didn't care for them. I was a young kid drinking liquor every now and then, mostly mixed drinks and cocktails that I thought were really good. The first time I had a craft beer that I actually enjoyed was in 2007 in Philadelphia at the Magic Hat Brew Pub, and I had a pint of Magic Hat number 9 on accident. Didn't mean to do it. Didn't know where I was at. Didn't know what I was doing. I tried it, and it was damn delicious. And I started realizing there are beers out there that are good. Traveled to Europe, had all the standards, Strombo and so I started Guinness, Harp, and They do still make number 9. Things have changed with their company and how they do things, but it is still a very good beer in my opinion, and I like it. And it kind of went forward from there, and I never found beers like that much around here that I wanted to drink at the time when I first started. Now there's tons of beers that's how I run this place right now.
Different.
Yeah, no joke. And I learned from a guy who, similar to him, he's like, you can do that. If you can't find the beer you like, you can just make it yourself. And he showed me how, and I've been doing it ever since. And here we are.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah, for me, I was one of those kids that didn't drink growing up. I didn't drink till I was 21, and people are like, "No, you're kidding me, right?" I was like, "Nope."
I was 19 at Magic Hat Brew Pub, by the way.
Disclaimer.
I'm 35. Everybody forgot about it by now.
No, for me, my brother is 7 years older than me, and he sat me down at my sister's wedding, and it was at a bar. Not the wedding, but yes, the aftermath of the wedding was at a bar. And he said, do everything you want to do in life before you start doing this. This has been here since the beginning of time, and long after you're gone, it'll still be here. So do the things that you want to do before you start getting into this. And I really took it to heart. And so it wasn't until I was 21, I had already gone to the Naval Academy and played football there, and the Lions offered me a tryout after the Naval Academy, and I was playing semi-pro football, and I still wasn't drinking because I was playing football. And then I was on a semi-pro football team, still trying to work my way up, and we were sponsored by Mongolian Barbecue, and it was cheaper to get a beer at Mongolian Barbecue than it was to get a Coca-Cola. And so at the time I was scraping money together, and I was like, all right, fine, I'll try this Labatt Blue. And so I took a sip of that, and it was after a football game, and I was like, what is this? This is delicious. And I probably had 4 or 5 of them, and that's what got me started into beer. And then from there, my one friend was like, you know, there's other things besides Labatt Blue. And I was like, I'm sure there is, because I got to pass a bunch of other beers to get to Labatt Blue. And he was like, well, here, try this. And he handed me a Guinness. And I was like, what's that? He said, it's craft beer. And I went, really? What's craft beer? So I drank it. I was like, that's amazing. It's got chocolate in it. He's like, it doesn't. But I said, what?
Thank you for saying that.
It doesn't.
What I think school about Guinness, that's one of my first ones that got me into craft beer. And I didn't, are they craft?
No.
No, I didn't think they were.
I mean,
No, they are not craft beer.
no.
That's just how they make it over in Ireland.
They are expanding over here with smaller facilities, though. So,
But that was the first beer that pretty much got me into drinking craft beer. So, yeah, it was like, and what's funny is like a lot of people think that's like dark, heavy beer, but it's the same alcohol by volume, maybe as Bud Light.
Yeah, it's 4.5%.
Yeah, and so
4.2, I think.
Yeah.
Actually.
It depends on where you get it from.
Oh, that makes sense.
Apparently, Bud Light's different in Canada.
Yeah, yeah.
than
We
it
learned
is
that from
in
other
the United
friends.
States. Is it not stronger?
It is.
Like it's like a 5% or something.
It's
like
almost 5. That's what she said.
that. That shit blew my mind. I don't know why. I thought I was like, what the fuck? Bud Light's Bud Light, but it's not
So
everywhere.
what's the percentage here?
4.2.
It's
And,
light.
you know, it ain't that big. It's not that big of a difference.
But it's a difference.
It's still heavier.
It's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like everything, it's affected by politics.
Yeah. Basically, that's what it all comes down to at the end of the day. I really didn't like beer at all. When I first, had like.
Well, but you've drank more than anybody else here so far.
Yes. Yeah. Now, you know what I'm saying?
What's going on, Hemp?
Hey, I'm a fan of it now. When I initially started though, drinking, I didn't like beer at all, but it was just Budweiser and Bud Ice and Bud Light and all that type of shit. I think my bro Jamie is actually the person that introduced me to craft beer, and then I was like, okay, I can do this. You know what I'm saying? It ain't too bad, ain't too shabby. How long have y'all been brewing respectively?
I think I've been brewing, I want to say about 2013. It's 2022 right now.
I would agree. I would agree with that. Math
Carry
checks
the
out.
one, right?
Carry the one. Math checks. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You too? 2013?
No.
Oh, I thought that's what you were trying to say.
No.
You didn't know the math.
Not at all.
Yes. 2012 for me.
So
I've been brewing for 10 years.
Mine was when I got into it, about the same. About 2010, 2013, somewhere in that.
In case y'all didn't know, Hops does a little brewing himself. You know what I'm saying?
I've been known to. I haven't done as much as I want, but the last beer I made with that guy right there. So
Baltic Porter. It was delicious.
That-
Call it the Resident Beards Porter.
that's right. Because I don't understand why we would call it anything else.
I mean, there's lots of names.
Yeah, but not nothing like that.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Who invited this guy?
I think you did.
I know.
Oh,
So what else? So first of all, we'll start with you. But this question's for both of you. But
good luck.
what's the idea or the thing behind River Remedy Brewing Company, and how did where did the idea generate from?
So I have been in the craft beer industry for about 7 years now, and I went from a craft beer bar to a small brewery, and at that small brewery, working there for just under a year, COVID hit. It was a whole thing there. As COVID was a big issue for me, I'm one of those upstarts coming from the leavings of the COVID pandemic and all that crap. I started discussing this amongst friends, this idea that I wanted to start a brewery a long time ago, but I seriously started discussing it probably about in April of 2020. I cornered a bunch of friends who kept saying, hey, your homebrew tastes good. You should do this professionally. I called their bluff, and we held a couple of meetings, and before you knew it, by April of 21, we had incorporated and started this project. We got the lease, and we haven't stopped since. We opened this place up by December of 21 as a craft beer bar, since I have that craft beer background, knowing a bunch of the different breweries and how the system works and all that kind of thing. And we've been running it ever since. Meanwhile, waiting on our system to get here, which I think if you hit from this camera, you'll be able to see some of that back here. It's all here now, and hopefully within about
Big and pretty.
less than 2 months, I'll say, we should be able to start brewing beer and selling our beer. So it's a pretty fun endeavor, but that kind of boils down to just like-minded people who really saw like a place that needed something like this, but nobody's really been able to get in the market and do it. We've had one attempt here recently that was, I thought they did a pretty good job, but one thing led to another. COVID hit them, and we don't have a brewery in this town anymore, and we do need one, but nobody's really jumped on it, so here we are.
Well, if
you build it, they will.
well, if anybody should start the first one, it's definitely got to be you, because you made some of the best homebrews I've ever had. So, I think that's really, you're definitely a staple here, and you should be.
Yeah, I'm about to say, even when I was doing, my other, when we was doing Broad Street Live, and you was at the other places, I kind of, when I think about beer and craft beer in this town, you're one of the people I think about. So.
Yeah, and those days were pretty fun too.
Yeah, it was.
A lot of live music and stuff.
So, with the name, obviously, the river's right here behind us.
Yes, the Etowah River.
That had to do, that came into...
So we actually had a bunch of different names for the brewery we wanted to start, a long list of them. And when we got serious about it and formed our LLC, we started looking at the serious names to name the LLC, and they were all taken. We were not the first ones to think of most of these names, including, this is the Etowah River. Etowah Brewing Company is already taken. They have it as an LLC, but they do a DBA, or doing business as, and they go by something else. And they're local to us. They're not like in another state or anything, so we didn't want to have that conflict of interest or anything like that. But once we figured out this was the location we wanted, then we could add in some of the ideas we had based on the location. And one of the people involved in the group, named Lynn, actually, she came up with the idea of River Remedy, and it's kind of stuck. Just the name River Remedy works by itself, but you got to say brewing company at the end. But a lot of people do refer to us as just River Remedy.
That's where you come to you got what to fix what ails you. You know what I mean? So it's a remedy of a bad day, a hard day at work, and come in, get your beer.
But that was a good thought of it, and we do like to go with that. But we also like the idea that it can be used in the direction of what we do, which we're probably going to talk about later, with our charity work, being a remedy, trying to fix the river, trying to fix the local communities and things like that. And we'll probably get to that in another question here in a minute.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Kavanagh, what's the name behind Heights Brewing? Because I'm personally interested, because I don't think you and I have ever talked about this.
I haven't heard of this yet.
No, we haven't. So many moons ago, I wanted to do a brewery. My mom passed away after I gave her my kidney, and when she passed, one of her last things that she said to me was, follow your dreams. And I was like, follow my dreams. Costco is not my dream. And so I decided that my passion was making beers, and I was going to take the step and start making beers and open up a brewing company. And this was 6 or 7 years ago. And I was like, because same with Justin. Everyone's like, your home brews are amazing. They're awesome. They're great. And so I cornered a couple people that I knew had deeper pockets in mine. And I said, hey, I think I'm going to do this and found a place in a downtown area, downtown Auburn Hills, which is where the Pistons used to play. And so I was like, okay, we're going to go into this. We're going to do it. And I went to go in to sign the lease for the building that I had picked out. And I got a call from my major backer, and he's like, hey, lots of stuff in the government changed. I have to reroute all my money that I was going to give you back into my business, and so I can't do anything. And so, like a house of cards, it just crumbled. And I said, all right, I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on the back burner because it's not something that I can do right now. But it's not something that's going to go away because, like I said earlier, that doesn't go away. It will always be here. So, fast forward, and I'm walking around downtown Farmington with my lovely wife, Sean, and the downtown development agency approaches us and says, hey, weren't you going to open up a brewery in Auburn Hills? We'd love to have you open one here. And I said, all right, we'll give it some thought, but we're not really thinking about that at this moment in time. And so we went home, we talked about it. All right, let's see, if we do this and this and this, then
Carry the one?
Yep, carry the one, and the math equals out. It's like, okay, perfect, we're good. We can make this happen. And so we started getting everything together, started making contacts with everybody, because like Justin, I've been in the craft beer business for at least 6-7 years. I mean, at places that are in Michigan that are big, like Coonan and Dragon Mead and Draft Horse, like all these places are big up and coming breweries. And now it's like, all right, I'm gonna do it myself. And for the name Heights, everything on that side of Detroit was way back in the 1700s, 1800s. It was all known as Avon Heights. And so in all the suburbs of Detroit, there's Sterling Heights, there's Madison Heights, Auburn Hills, Bloomfield Hills, Farmington Hills. Well, all the hills used to be heights.
Okay.
And so that's where the name Heights comes from, is I'm just trying to bring back the history of the area into the brewery.
I can dig that.
Yeah.
Big on history, so yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah,
Man.
so that's where Heights comes from, and that's why we're calling it Heights.
You
That's
put,
dope.
I mean,
That's
you
dope.
put thought in. I mean, like they did with their, you put thought into it.
Yeah.
And I think you have to have, whether you want a gimmick or not. At least if you're gonna have one, at least make it something true to you, to where you feel like you're actually doing something that's important and not just being a fucking goofball.
Yeah, y'all basically creating cultural staples in y'all communities, you know what I'm saying? So it's good that y'all tying in what, you know what I mean, it made sense to, for yours to be named that. You got a river, you know what I'm saying? You with the history of the Heights in that area, you know, you bringing that full circle, so.
Yeah, and that's
dope.
like even people in the area that we're at, they're like, why are you calling it Heights? And then when I tell them the story, they're like, well, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, you enlightening, you know what I'm saying?
I didn't know that.
And then it's crazy how the universe works, how it just fell in your lap.
Yep.
You know what I mean? With the location and all that, you know what I mean? That's dope. That is dope, man. Well, yeah, you didn't know that. Of course I didn't know that. So, yeah, that's dope as hell. So with that, brings me to the next question. How do y'all like being business owners? How is it working for yourself?
It's rough. It's a lot. Being a small business that's not like a straight up corporation with a guy to handle every problem, you're generally the one guy that has to handle everything. Your constituents to help you out, sometimes they know about it. Sometimes you got a guy or two involved that are specialized in that field and they know what you're doing on that side of things. But generally, you're the focal point. You're the one that has the name on the license. You're the one that's got to sign off on everything. There is a whole lot of work to be done. There's a whole lot of hands to shake and people to talk to, sometimes political, sometimes legal. It's a lot. It's not so much like there's pressure that like, you're being forced into anything. It's just it's almost overwhelming the amount of different aspects to it. And I don't know about your state. Our state is pretty weird about a lot of things. Like, I mean,
Michigan's weird.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. But I don't want to get into the in-depth things because every single state's different on how this progresses, and I'm sure nobody's really that much easier than the other, but they are different. And I mean, it gets nuts. Like the state of Georgia, like they want a 6 months work history, or sorry, they want a 10-year work history. They want like all kinds of weird stuff about every member involved.
Georgia tough.
Wow.
It's a lot of paperwork, but really, I think the hardest part for any brewery is the local part, where you have to deal with your local authority, your zoning commission, the EPA guys, the environmental guys, rather. Yep. Dealing with your locals, like your equivalent of like a mayor or commissioners or things like that, agreeing that you're in a good location, that you're going to support the community as opposed to be a problem. It's a lot. Alcohol is looked at pretty rough in a lot of areas, especially down here in Georgia. We are in the Bible Belt. It's frowned upon depending on how you use it. It's getting a little better, I feel like, down here though.
So in Michigan, as of this moment in time, there's something like 320 different breweries in Michigan.
We have like half that.
Yeah. And so the biggest hurdle for us that we had to overcome was, well, why does Michigan need another brewery? Especially in the town that we're doing, there's already a brewery in the town. And so they're like, well, how are you going to do that? Is it going to be a competition? Can you guys both survive? And that's when it's like, well, hold on, time out. You guys are thinking of a brewery like a bar, and it's not the same. Being a brewery, you're a community, because as Justin and I discussed earlier in the day, like we'll share recipes with each other because we know that how I brew is different from how he brews. And so because of that, if he uses my recipe, it's not going to come out the same as the way that I do it, just because of nuances and equipment and so on and so forth, which I'm sure we'll probably get into later. But it's one of those things where even one of the biggest breweries in the state of Michigan, Bell's Brewing, who does Oberon and Two Hearted and all that, I really enjoy one of their beers. It's called Double Two Hearted. And I sent an email to the owner of the company and I said, hey, I love this beer. I would love to make it. And he sent me the recipe. He said, here you go.
Most brewers will help you. We have tons of breweries here in Georgia now, about half of what you had, like I said earlier. But everyone I've talked to, they are all ready to, like, at the drop of a hat, come help out and give me information, whatever. And I severely appreciate that.
Everyone that I've talked to about, hey, this is going on, that's going on, they're like, okay, cool. Let me know when you need some help and I'll be there to help you. And I'm like, okay, sweet, I can handle that. As far as the question goes, though, thing that I never really thought of, because having a punch clock every single day working at Costco, it's like, man, I cannot wait to not do that and just be free of all that time. Yeah, well, there's so much that goes into owning a business than I ever would have thought, and it is just from the time you wake up until the time you go to bed, and while you're sleeping, you wake up 4 times in the middle of the night going, did I do that? Yes, I did. Okay, I can fall asleep. Did I? Wait, what about this? And so you're always thinking about it. It's always consuming your time, but in a good way, because you know you're doing it for yourself and you're not working for somebody else. And that's what makes it different.
All the effort goes into
you. Yeah.
Yep, instead of somebody else. And so the time doesn't seem that bad, but it's all the time.
Yeah.
But it's all the time.
That's what I would say about just entrepreneurship in general. Yeah, it is very demanding because, like, you know, it's all on you. Like, you know what I mean? In every aspect. You don't have that stability or that guaranteed, you know, check coming in. You got to go out and make sure that what you're doing is going to bring that in. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. You got to think about that before you want to be the boss.
That's right. It ain't always fun to be the boss.
No, it ain't.
So, just you know, for maybe somebody that's not familiar with how beer's made, like the process, what's used, like just a quick rundown in layman's terms. You know, you got to go in. I know that there's hops, there's all kinds of shit. Yeah. But like just in general, the 3 main ingredients in beer, which, you know,
Grain, hops, and water.
that's right. So, other than that,
And not to cut you off,
No.
but if y'all don't understand why we are Hemp and Hops, because like he just said, the hops go into brewing the beer, and they are sister plants, cousins, whatever.
sister plants to the sweet leaf.
Yeah, to the sweet leaf. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, just a little rundown. Like let's say, Justin, I want to know how similar you guys are in when you're making beer. Does that make sense? Like, what do you think you guys do the same thing?
Yeah, I think the basic process would be the same. It's the
Craft
finite
beer,
stuff that would
for
take
dummies.
hours to go into
Like
that would be different.
Like we could take 35, 40 minutes and just explain the difference between steam brewing, direct heat, and electric.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do that, but
No.
when it all gets boiled down to it,
See what he did?
Right now.
Jesus, that dude's been like this all weekend. All weekend he's been like that.
Hey, you got to have that drum.
The wit is fluent in that motherfucker over there.
Hey, you got to be witty.
But
Long
yeah,
live,
just
long live the witty.
yeah.
You're taking grain and you're extracting the sugars out of it. It's a starchy product. You're getting it to a right temperature and liquid to where the starch self-converts into sugar. It uses enzymes naturally occurring, a bunch of other stuff. There's tons of different ways to do it. Some grains have the enzymes, some don't. The most common one is barley, but you can use barley, wheat, corn, rye, sorghum, buckwheat, rice.
Yeah,
There-
which makes the gluten-free beer for
anything that
certain
is
people that can't
defined-
have the gluten.
Yeah, anything that is defined as a grain, you can use it, and as long as it's at least 51% grain, it is defined as a beer. Whereas like a cider or a wine, they're made from apples and grapes.
yep, or a mead, which is made from honey.
Yes, which I believe is still classified as wine just because of the ABV maybe, I don't know. That's an anomaly, we won't get into it, it's just sugar, it's whatever. But it's delicious.
Yeah.
It's fermentable.
Yes,
Yes.
And then you get the liquid out of the grains, you boil the liquid, you add the hops to bitter it back down where it's not as sweet, and there's different ways to do that depending on what kind of beer you want to make.
So the cool thing about hops is it was used as a preservative back in the day, and that's where hops comes from. In fact, an IPA is an
India
Indian
Pale Ale.
and it's to make the voyage from England down around the Horn of Africa to get to India, because they threw more hops in it at the time, because it was a preservative, and so it was an over-hopped beer, and that's where the name came from.
That's
And
dope.
That beer
Yeah.
probably would come off as a weird, bitter barley wine by the time it got there, but it was still something palatable that the soldiers could drink during that war, and it was something that would work, that reminded them of home.
Yeah.
And it was also something that they could drink while on the ship, because you can't just drink the water.
It was
Yeah.
nothing like the IPA we drink today.
No, yeah, no.
You would probably not like it, but it is still a style, and it definitely has created a trend for sure.
Yes, I mean, everything from hazy to East Coast, West Coast.
So after you get the sugary water from the grain and you add the hops and boil it for X amount of time depending on the beer.
It's called the wort at that point. Right?
Yes, it's called the
wort.
wort.
If I'm not.
No, you're absolutely right.
Are you sure you guys know what you're talking about?
Yeah, you drain it off, you chill it down as much as you can. There's several ways to do
As
it,
quick as you can.
quick as you can.
Yeah.
And then you ferment it. You ferment it in your tanks, and you can use several different yeasts. There's ale yeast, there's lager yeast, there's souring stuff that's bacteria form. There's all kinds.
Yeast eats the sugar, which makes the beautiful alcoholic beverages that we all
This
like to
guy
drink.
over here knows stuff.
Look at it, because
You don't even need us.
because the byproduct of the yeast eating the sugar is CO2 and alcohol. The CO2 gets run out, the alcohol stays, and so you're good.
Yeah, here we are.
I've
Drinking
heard
too much.
derogatory terms where they say they piss alcohol and shit CO2. So that's essentially what they do, though.
Yep.
And
It's
then
the science.
from there, you get it cold, you carbonate it with CO2, or use CO2 that it produces and pressurize it. And then from that point, you basically have to be ready to go. There's many different ways to approach it, different types of systems, tons of different methods. But essentially, the main idea is along that lines.
Yeah, and like if you want to get into the history of it from where it first came from to where it is now. I mean, along the way, we'll just say, because some people look like Vikings around here, that the Vikings.
I don't understand what the hell
Is there
that
an
mean.
invasion?
Fuck does that mean?
I'm just saying some people have a look.
I'm offended. I'm leaving.
All right, see you later. I'll keep talking about this.
Okay.
So, the Vikings used to put the hops in with the grains, and that's how they did it. And they just had a big log that they would carve out, and they would line the bottom with spruce, and then they would put the grain and the hops in, and then they would light a fire under the log. And as it ran out, that's where their wort came from, and then they would just ferment that.
Shut the fuck up. Really? Why are we not done? Why are we not doing that?
I have.
I've got a.
Of course you fucking have. Of course he's fucking done it. Of course.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have done it.
But yeah, I'm just like, yeah, of course
So
he
I
is.
know what our
Jesus.
first collab beer is going to be.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'll be that'll be dope.
For our wedding, because we had a Viking themed wedding, and I was like, I can make a Viking beer. How do you make a Viking beer? Oh my God, that's how you make a Viking beer?
I have to.
That's dope. That's dope as hell.
Oh man.
So yeah, so pretty much it's the same, you know, when it comes to making the beer, it's the same process, just different ingredients, maybe different temperatures, the amount of time you boil it for.
Yep, it's the nuances that separate it.
Okay.
And that's it. So like, for instance, a 90-minute IPA, every 90 minutes for that boil, you're adding hops. So a minute goes by, you drop some hops in. Another minute goes by, drop some hops in. Because hops,
60 seconds.
every minute, carry the one. Yeah. And
Carry the fucking one, y'all.
in hops,
Every minute.
That's a big,
You said every night.
that's a big calculation that people's missing here. You got to fucking carry the one, or it's not right.
every minute.
Got to.
Every 90 minutes.
Woo, that would be horrible.
Okay, you got me there. I was confused there for a second.
So every minute for 90 minutes, because depending on the time it's in the boil, it has very different characteristics.
We definitely enjoy this more than most people. So I bet somebody be watching and be like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck? Can we drink it yet?
But
Yeah, it's a time.
that was craft beer for craft brewing
And every time you
for
add,
dummies.
add the hops, it's the hops break.
Hops right.
Outbreak is not that.
Nope. But I was trying, well, I'm glad you can see it. I was trying to make a fucking joke, and here these guys are like, that's not correct. You are wrong, sir.
You did not carry the one.
I did not carry the one.
They did just look at you like, what are you talking about? What the fuck are you
I'm
talking
sorry,
about?
it's weird, my bad.
What the fuck are you talking about, man?
Fuck. I'm leaving.
But
Make you look
I'm
bad on my
gonna
own
reel it
shit.
back in.
Where you?
We were discussing earlier that both of y'all breweries are involved in charitable work.
Yes.
So do y'all want to explain what goes on with that, or how y'all giving back to charity?
You want me to go first? I'll go first.
I've been going first every time. I'll let you go first.
So I'll go first. All right, so, for our brewery, we have a communal parking lot, okay? But in that parking lot, we share it with the city building and the police and fire department. So what we've done is we've taken one of our beers, and every one of those beers that is sold, 10% of that goes towards the police and fire. So that's our charitable event that we do, and it's just to help boost the morale and everything. It's like, hey, they're not bad guys. I mean, they've got a job to do, and it sucks, and they get a lot of gruff for doing it, but they still need support. And so that's the way that we help support them, is they're gonna come in, they're gonna have a pint, and they're gonna be like, all right, cool, so that's nice, and I'm gonna be like, here's some please don't poke me.
Please don't put me on.
Some of those guys are fucking assholes.
They are. They are. Some-
But you know, it's assholes in every field, so you know.
There are bad apples in everything.
Yeah, and brewing and everything, right? There's always a couple assholes. Not, you know, the brewer community is very, inviting, but there's some fucking assholes in there.
There really are. Just like every community, there are some assholes in the brewing community, and we have at least 2 of them here in Georgia that I know of.
Well, we have 2 of them
Outside
right
of this
here.
room, or we just talking about, you know what I mean?
They could, yes. Anyway, so yeah, River Remedy, we decided early on that we wanted to do a different method of charity, and the places I used to run doing craft beer, we would do pint nights, and we would do special events, and it would amount to a smaller amount of money that we could give back to the charity. So, for example, we have a pint night. It's $1 per pint goes to the charity company, whatever charity that was. And we would sell tons of beers, and we would make a whole bunch of money in the thousands. But we, in the end, only sold 200 pints, so we would give them $200. Whereas we might have made like $700 off of that, or $7,000 off of that. So we looked at that model and said, that's just not where we want to be. If we're going to do this, we need to commit a little bit harder than that. And we came up with the idea that every quarter we would pick a charity and we would donate a portion of all of our sales to that charity. And we've been open as a craft beer bar since December this last year. And every quarter we've donated a check, and the first quarter was $2,000 to the Davies Shelter, which is a battered women and children's shelter. And the second quarter was Paws, which is a rescue for dogs and I think cats as well. And we gave them a $2,200 check based on our sales. And this third quarter, which just ended, and I haven't done the numbers yet, was the CRBI, which is the Coosa River Basin Initiative. And we're going to continue this every single quarter as far as we can see. We got a list up for 2 years already of which ones we're going to do. And we're just going to kind of wait and figure that out as we go. It's fun. Yeah, but now because of that, we don't do pint nights. We don't do the weird special events like that. And we've gotten a touch of gruff for that because we're not supporting the same way that everyone else is, which is the norm, and that's okay. So to answer that, what we've done is we've opened up our parking lot. Similar to you, we have kind of a big parking lot out here, which a lot of our local businesses downtown don't have. So that allows us to do specialized events. So yesterday, when you guys came by for the first time, we had a whole event going on with all the art vendors we could muster from a local area selling their wares in our parking lot. We had the aforementioned Paws Rescue Company, along with another one called Paw Angels, showing rescues that we're ready to rescue right there on the spot. And we had a Mr. Pickle's Dog Bakery making dog treats out there to sell them, along with bluegrass music. And, you know, we weren't donating anything to these charities at the time or to the vendors. They were all selling and showing off the wares and what they do, essentially. And it was just a fun time. It drew business. We were able to sell pints. All of the businesses and charities out there knew that all the pints that we sold was going to a different charity, and they were okay with that. They were just really appreciative of the ability to use our lot, and it was fun. We've done several events like that. We've done charity pop-up days where we've had up to 15 different charities just pop up out in our parking lot, you know. We do a ton of stuff with music, trying to get back into the arts in this area. We've done every single kind of music just about so far that I can think of. I'm still searching for different ones. We're still waiting on South African rock and new metal, I think, are the last two that we haven't gotten into yet. And we're working on one of those right now.
Yeah.
I heard Limp Bizkit's trying to find some gigs, so.
Well, I mean, you know, he's doing pretty good, and I'd love to have the guy here. I mean, me and you both lived in Jacksonville at different times in our lives.
And you took it to the Matthews Bridge.
We took it to the Matthews Bridge.
Even Wes Borland bought a house in Detroit, so.
Really?
Did he now?
Yeah, lives on the, east side.
For some of you guys that aren't educated in music, like myself here, and a couple friends. I mean, this guy kind of does some music, but the Scotch. Yeah, we're talking about Limp Bizkit. If you don't, a lot of people might not know who that is. I don't know, but it's a new metal band.
Depending on derogatory term. Also, yes.
Yeah, it's absolutely one. I mean,
that's why I said also yes.
Yeah, I don't think anybody.
It could be both.
Context.
It could be both.
What is a Limp Bizkit? Well,
don't Google that, kids. Don't Google that.
You know, just stay off of Google.
And that's one thing I thought was cool about, well, not about Limp Bizkit, but about breweries. Period. Like you mentioned earlier, bars and breweries are different. Before I went to one, I wasn't aware of that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that it is about community and it's family friendly, and people have their kids come out. I don't know if not to having the kids drinking or not, but you know what I'm saying.
I feel like it wasn't so much until the last 5 years. Before that, it was kind of just like you saw them. They might donate to like one little entity, or they might work with an entity. But unless they were like hardcore in that, generally they were just there to sell beer.
Yeah.
It's only been in the last like 5 years, at least in my area, that I have seen that we have charities that they're working with consistently, or they're making a whole business model after it. In Georgia, we have Sweetwater Brewing Company that's been working to clean the rivers for a decade. So I don't want to discount that. More than a decade now, I'm sure. And Terrapin, I think that they have a whole thing as well.
Don't they save the turtles?
Well, I would assume, but I don't want to say that.
Okay, just checking.
But it's probably Terrapin.
No, they just exploit them.
There are
They exploit
differences.
their likeliness.
Yeah,
But-
you gotta pay them decent wages.
That's
But
right.
most breweries from that time frame, I just never really saw much. And if they were, I'm sorry, I don't mean to discount you. I just didn't notice it as much. But most of the breweries that have started in the last 5+ years, that's more of a mindset is to work with your local community more than anything, and try to build your local community around this.
And it makes sense.
Yep.
Is that what it's like in Michigan?
In Michigan, it's been going for longer. I mean, Michigan's got Beer City USA, which is Grand Rapids. And in Grand Rapids alone, there's something like 32 breweries.
The Beer City
32
USA.
breweries.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
just in the city itself, in its downtown area, there's 8 breweries in the downtown area. And the downtown area is not more than like 3 square miles.
That's crazy.
That's just, well, I mean,
But that's variety too,
I think
right?
I think they may not compete against one another,
They don't, because
but the public
it's a
will make it a
destination.
competition.
Yeah, it's a destination, and that's why even in Farmington, where we're moving in, I can stand at my front door and take a rock and literally throw and hit the other brewery in town. And everyone's like, well, isn't there gonna be a competition, so on and so forth? I'm like,
No,
no,
it's-
because now Farmington's become a destination spot because we have 2 breweries.
Well, I mean, and I think they're
ain't
confusing the word collaboration with the competition.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna be working off one another.
And for most breweries I go to, it's different experiences anyway. Like I ain't been to one that was the same really.
And you won't, because
yeah.
everyone puts their own personality into their brewery. I mean, yours is plain just like your personality, and that's your person. And so,
This is a young startup, sir.
my bad.
Fucking slack. I'm trying.
Jesus.
Who invited this guy?
So, no, but each one will be different no matter where you go to. I mean, even Dark Horse Brewing in Marshall, Michigan, they were on the Discovery Channel for 2-3 years. They're all about having fun and just doing heavy metal music. Like, they built a beer garden with a stage so that they could have heavy metal concerts there, and then they have a hunting area where they can go out and shoot stuff. And
We did that last week. We had a metal show here last week.
right, but
It was fun. I love it.
I'm just saying,
First time either.
So are we, he's talking shit about you.
I know.
Okay. Just want to make that clear. There is definitely a competition between these 2 assets. But yeah, other than that, you guys.
What can would you have a question?
No, that's what I was about to do.
Okay, you got it. Okay, go ahead. Where can the people find you? Y'all have websites, and if you don't, y'all have, I'm sure, social media.
Yeah.
Well, it's like
The
media
fucking
where you
internet.
go
You ever
get
heard of that?
social on.
what's the internet?
Have you ever heard of Jeffrey Epstein? I'm just kidding. That's gonna get you a bunch of tags.
That's okay.
This is gonna blow up.
Yeah.
I said that word.
Flag, flag.
The government's listening.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're what? Anthrax.
They're a metal band.
They're amazing. I love them. Ian, he's amazing. So River Remedy Brewing, we have a website, we have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, where I'm kind of doing semi-startup videos, letting people know how this is all working. Also, things that helped me along when I first started out, check out Chop and Brew and Northern Brewers Brewing TV. If you haven't checked that out, the early days of that, and some of the new stuff as well, the same guy from Chop and Brew, Chip Walton, those guys are awesome, man. They kind of got me into this a little bit more than they should have, but here I am now, so, yeah.
Heights Brewing website is not up yet. It's still in development, but we got Facebook, we have Instagram, we have all that. So Heights Brewing is where that is. The website is gonna blow people's minds when it's up and running. That's why it's not up yet.
I'm sure. You blow my fucking mind just sitting here, so I can understand how you.
Is it gonna be a direct link to meatspin.com?
There'll definitely be somewhere to click on that. Cause
It's gonna have a little pie symbol in the bottom corner, and that'll do it.
pie symbol.
Yeah, nobody saw that here with Sandra Bullock? No? All right, my bad.
Anyway.
He's about as bad as you are. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Everybody, nobody. He's about as ridiculous as Ryan Kavanagh. So.
Yeah. It's been fun. You know what I'm saying? Hanging with these two fellas, learning about
Inaugural
the
first time. It's been we've been planning this for a long time.
Yeah.
It's been a little minute. This
But
is the first opportunity, though.
it all worked out. You know, it's all about timing.
Well,
It's the only reason why I came to Rome, Georgia.
This is what living in the procrastination
We appreciate it.
nation is like. Because I'm gonna put that on a shirt.
Yeah, but we made it through. Y'all have your equipment in now. Ryan's here now. We got a 2-for-1.
You know what? I feel like I'm obligated to say this, because if I don't, I might get in trouble. I'm wearing the damn t-shirt. How do you pronounce it?
Cluche.
Cluche.
Cloutier.
Yeah, shout out to them.
Mutual friend of ours.
They came.
He's in Ontario.
Yeah. They came a few months back. They came down and hung out with us.
That's Windsor, Ontario is where he's at.
Yeah. So he's another guy. I'm wearing the shirt. I gotta say it.
Yeah, got
Otherwise
you.
I wouldn't, but you know.
Got you.
It's basically
guy.
South Detroit.
Guy. Rich, we know you. You're a good guy.
Old Cloute.
We appreciate y'all. We thank y'all for checking in on the first episode of Getting Pleasant with Hemp and Hopz.
This is just a test. We're probably gonna throw this away.
You want to delete it?
Yeah, we
Just
probably
because
ain't
Ryan-
gonna keep
because
this.
Ryan. I probably would have kept it. It was just Justin, but Ryan came on.
If you
It's my bad.
where your location again, brother?
That is in Farmington, Michigan, which is just outside Detroit.
If y'all happen to be in that area, go check out Heights Brewing. If you happen to be in the Northwest Georgia area, Rome, Georgia to be exact, come check out River Remedy Brewing Company. And
Tell them you know him at Hops and they get a free beer.
You can say that.
I just made that up.
and you never know, we might be in here. You know what I'm saying? You never know. We appreciate it. This has been Getting Pleasant with Hemp and Hopz. Until next episode, we out this
Well,
thing.
I'm hurt. Did you guys get pleasant? You guys pleasant? I feel pleasant.
Did
Are
you
you
get
pleasant?
pleasant?
I'm pleasant.
I'm pleasantly happy right
I forgot to mention that, so I mentioned that before we leave. That's part of getting pleasant. You know what I mean?
Whatever
The
it is-
guests come on and they either
Whatever it is you
indulge in the sweet leaf or
Maybe you
some
gotta do some
CBD
yoga. Maybe you could do some
or
yoga.
a beer or
yoga.
some yoga. Whatever you want to do.
There you go.
I
Well,
do
you already
stretching.
drank the whole thing. I was gonna suggest maybe an end of the thing cheers. but-
Well,
Yeah, grab the
There you
liquid death.
Matt, you got a good closer for us?
yes, sir. So yeah, I appreciate y'all being here, and this was
That's what
fun.
it is. Yeah, it was,
That's
man.
it?
That's it.
That's it.
Now you
Until
guys can go. You guys can fuck yourselves. That's what you can do.
Oh, wow.
Shout out to the man behind the camera.
Yeah,
To
shout out
next
to Bones for being here.
Yeah,
next
Bones.
episode,
Man.
we gone. We
Shout
out
out,
here.
shout out to these assholes who wouldn't quit talking about the
It's over with.
Buddy.